All right, here we go. All right, let's pop out these chats. Hello, Pumpkin. Hey, let's not knock things off the desk, right? Watch that tail, pal. Oh, yep, knocking things. I said watch the tail. Like you're gonna knock things off the desk, no matter which end of the desk you're pointed at, are you? You crazy cat. Bud. All right. I'll let you stay in until I get the stream set up, okay? Okay. Pop out chat here. Pop out chat. Pop out chat. Come on, chat. Pop out. Here we go. All right. There's one chat popped out. Let's go to the close cam. All right. And bring up the chat screens again. I think I'm starting to grok to an idea here. I'm starting to have an idea about how Social Stream Ninja is supposed to work. So I might go to putting that back in here before too long. So I don't have to do all the crazy things, you know? All right, Pumpkin. Guess what? It is time for you to leave the pocket dimension. But it is time for everybody here to come in and sit and chat and do some hobby here in the pocket dimension. I apologize, I'm a little bit late today. Just barge right in. I'm a little bit late this evening. I worked late, got home a little bit close. I had to kind of just decompress a little bit. It wasn't a bad day at work. It was just it was more than I get a bargain for. But you're gonna run into that on service calls. All right, look, Pumpkin. Look, buddy. You can't hang out in here. You always do, and you always get rowdy. Okay. You always get rowdy. But you know, you might get like 20% more views just for having a cat in the stream, right? I don't have it marked. I don't have it marked up as having a cat in the stream, but okay. I'm going to put you out of the pocket dimension since you are a terrorist and we don't negotiate with terrorists. We boop them on the nose. Boop, boop, boop. All right. Here we go. You are getting just a lard lumpy butt. Put you on a diet. You just can't seem to lose the weight. We'll have to address that. Now I'm covered with cat hair again. That happens. Oh well. So, here we are once again in the pocket dimension where we're going to be painting all the things. And this week's paint project is the Goblin Effigy from the Battle for Skull Pass from the 7th edition Warhammer boxed set. So, as I was looking over it, I noticed there's a few things that I think I painted wrong. So, this little lump right here and that little lump right there, I painted as part of skulls because of, I thought these were skulls just because of the way things were cast. But I'm starting to think that those might be part of the rock. So I'm going to change that and that maybe. And over here, maybe make this rock as well. That little spot. So, and as you can see, I've based it. So those of you who are watching this past Tuesday, did I base this on? I based this on Tuesday. So you saw me use my JP's Magic Mix basing solution, and it's just kitty litter and playground sand and decorator sand, and then some medium ballast right there. So the plan is this is going to be lighter brown. Excuse me. Lighter brown here, darker brown here, so that these skulls will stand out as opposed to the usual trail tan. So, excuse me, sneezing. I was in a very dusty house today. No shade on the homeowners. It was tidy. It was just, they had cats too, So, it just was what it was. But let's go ahead and get stuck in and start painting. Start painting all the things. Let's find a dark gray here. A dark gray that satisfies our wildest dreams. Let's see. I've got some dark grays out here already, I think. That's black. Also black. And white and silver. And I've got some gold out here. I've got a couple of grays missing out of my army painter stack over here. Here's Dungeon Gray. It's a good one. Where did that come from? Let's see, what else have we got here? So we got Dungeon Gray, and we've got I'm missing one of my army painter grays. Oh well. Alright, and let's dig out some dark stone here. Man, I know I had another dark gray out from Army Painter. Where did it get to? Let's see. Huh, I cannot find it at the moment. Frustrating. Oh well. Let's open up this dark stone here. let's use, actually, before we use these colors, let's see, what do we got here? We got the Vallejo Game Color Extra Opaque Heavy Charcoal. That's a nice dark gray color. Let's try that. It's always easier to bring dark colors up than light colors down. So, at least that's what I found. Now, I could be completely wrong. Your mileage may vary, and that's okay. Maybe you feel otherwise. Maybe you've had different experience. If you're watching in the VOD, let me know. What's your experience? Can you? Is it easy to bring darker colors up, make them lighter, or do you like to bring your light colors down? Let me know what you think. Hey, Gamers on Game, how's it going? Working on that tower still. Have a weird tendency to work from a white primer. Yeah, well, that's not really weird. I mean, white's a good primer to start from. It helps make your lighter colors lighter. And, I mean, in the old days, actually, so I started using white primer, just flat white spray paint when I was a kid. And then I tried black, and I did that for a while. I still use black primer from time to time, especially the brush-on stuff. So, that has its place. But I tell you what I really like to do is I like to use a brown or an oxide brown red kind of a primer. Because you don't really have... The black is a little bit harsh. So I actually found that, believe it or not, I like a brown primer as opposed to a black or a gray or a white. Black, gray, and white are interesting. And a lot of people use them to great effect. If you like white, that's great. If you like black, that's fine too. If you like gray in the middle. Sometimes I have problems with gray myself, especially on gray plastic. But I really, really like brown. So this is a figure I've had sitting on the desk for a while. She's a bit dusty. That's not fair. Not fair to the figure. But I don't know if it translates on camera very well, but that's a dark brown. So it's lighter than the black, so you can see a little bit better definitions on what you're going to be painting. But it's a nice dark base that you can use for shadows. And because in real life, supposedly they say, the artists, they say, and I remember in art class in high school, my art teacher said, there is no such thing as true black in nature. Well, okay. I mean, sure. So you get a little bit more naturalistic shadows if you use the primer as your shadow, as many people do. It's just, I mean, it's personal taste. There's no hard and fast rules in this hobby, as you know. So, it's just a thing. So, but yeah, I'm still working on the Goblin Effigy. I just started it last week. I've been noodling around with it for a little while. So, but I've got the old box set, and I'm like, you know what? I need to get that out, and I need to get that going. Let's see. Interesting. I've used Desert Bone for my heavy gear North Minis. Nice, nice. How does the brown work for skin tones? Actually, it works really well for a skin tone. But I don't really go into a whole lot of glazing for skin tones. I kind of do quick and dirty skin tones. Like maybe 3 levels. Here's one. Excuse me. Again, I've got to finish this lady here. So she's been sitting on the desk for way too long and has a rather disturbing amount of dust on her. So I got to work on her hair. That's why I'm not finished. I need to work on her hair and a few of their little bits and bobs and finish up the base. Um, but this is my skin tone. Those are, and the brown actually does a nice job. But I start out with kind of a deeper color tan skin, and I work my way up to like, for Caucasian flesh anyway. I work my way up to the orangish pink sort of a thing. So I go through about 3 or 4 different layers, and obviously because I'm working in more of the Kev Dallimore style, where you start out, you know, your base coat, your base tone, your mid tone, and your highlight. So just basically 3 levels. Sometimes I'll get crazy, throw a wash on there, and I'll re highlight. But but yeah, brown works really nicely with your skin tones. If you're just gonna go skin tone right over the you know, if you're not going to develop the skin tone a whole lot, if you're just going to kind of get it on there, maybe do a dark, like a shadow flesh color, a shadow tone, and maybe a highlight tone. Yeah, it works. I mean, it does. It really does work pretty nicely. So let's see. Skill. No, well, I appreciate that, Dave. Um, I'm just not. I mean, I'm not that good. I have friends that like it, and I do have a couple of things on some boxes. But I mostly did it because I needed a goal. I needed a goal to help me get through my pile of opportunity. You know, I have a whole lot of stuff in the collection that I was like, I need to paint. I need to either start working on this stuff or start culling the herd. So I was like, you know what? I've worked for a very long time to get all this stuff that I never had as a kid. You know, and I'm an adult with some disposable income, so might as well enjoy it. And I spent time collecting, but I was falling behind in doing. So I started the channel kind of to help me just have a goal, a date and time. You know, 2 nights a week generally, 2 to 4 hours of paint time, just straight up hobby time. Just kind of something to get me off the couch and quit doom scrolling. You know, because I work a very physical job, and when I'm done, I'm real done, if you know what I mean. So I need something to give me a little bit of a pep and a kick to get off the couch, you know. But you know, and the thing is everybody in the hobby space is fairly kind, so we don't really get a lot. I don't know how it is over here on YouTube. Really, I've only been on YouTube for a few months. Um, I know sometimes comment sections can get pretty wild. Trust me on that. Um, but yes, yeah, it is a pile of opportunity. Tried painting African American skin for Mercs freedom fighters. Came out looking racist despite my best efforts. Well, I mean, honestly, we're humans. We come in several shades of beige, right? Everything from brown to dark brown to light brown to more of a I hate to use the word yellow, but a more golden hues to skin. So these are my Space Marine Nova Wolves, and so what I did, because they're sculpted in such a way as to be kind of what's the word, um the way people's facial features work. Look, not phrenology. Phrenology is like pseudoscience, but the way people's, okay, they're sculpted in such a way as to be fairly neutral, that you could put just about any skin tone on, and it works, right? So I just started out with kind of a mid brown, kind of a dark mid brown, and then what the trick is to add a little bit of red in for your highlights. Don't go tan. Go more red or reddish tan maybe, um, and then just do highlights. But I mean, there's we're different colors. That's just the fact of it. And if you don't have any ill intent in your heart, then there's nothing wrong with painting people the way they look. I wanted to have more diversity in this particular Space Marine project, so I decided to go with more brown. I don't know if these guys are more Polynesian or South Pacific or more African. I don't know, but I wanted there to be something other than, oh, here's another Caucasian skin tone, because I do paint and takes, right? And I get paint and takes, and I get college kids at paint and takes, and I get families from people of color, and I say let's ignore the fact that this particular because they always put so right. So as an example, what's that color? Well, that's kind of a peachy tan color, right? But they call it, well, shoot, that's fair shadow. That doesn't mean anything. Fair shadow is actually like not really saying anything. So maybe this is a better example. So this says tan skin. Well, that is tan skin, but that would be more like tan Caucasian skin. That's not tan, say, Asian skin. Um, Asians have a completely different color in general when they get in the sun. Same thing, black people tan, believe it or not. I grew up with black kids, and they could get just as sunburned as me. So their mom was always putting sunscreen on them, because guess what? The sun doesn't care what color you are. It's going to burn you anyway. Let's see. Yeah. Well, I think your channel tracks a lot of trolls, because I think you are a little bit more on the culture war side of things, Dave, and that's okay. And somebody's got to talk about it. I try to stay away from a lot of that stuff on my channel, is be welcoming to everybody. But it can be a little wild out there. But yeah. But almost looks like cracked leather citadel. Yeah, it could be. But no, what I was getting at is I have a lot of people come to my paint and takes, and it's open for everybody. Obviously, we're not. I don't discriminate by any means. Obviously, who would in this day and age? I mean, uh, but I try to remind people. I say, hey, just because this says flesh tone doesn't mean that it's flesh tone. You don't have to paint this figure with Caucasian skin tones. If you want this figure to look like you, or to represent you in your game, you can paint it any way you want. There's people that paint their figures with blue skin and green skin and, all manner of human skin tones, because that's what we are. We're humans, and we have a lot of different wonderful colors between us. So that's my take. I don't know why we always are. I don't know why the paint companies are so insistent on calling Caucasian uh, skin tones. Now, if they call it Caucasian skin as a base, like they've got one. Let's see. Your Reaper has. Well, let's see. Reaper has a box of like tan tones, like more like what you would get like Middle East or people south of the border. Um, so they've got a lot of different skin tone things. So it says, let's see, we got tan skin, bronze flesh, um, let's see, olive skin, ginger cookie, although I don't think that really is like for, we got vampiric skin, so, we don't want to leave the vampires out, right? Let's see. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can paint skin, a lot of different ways to go, but it's not a big. We don't have to beat ourselves over. We don't have to gnash our teeth and rend our garments. Just treat people with respect. Treat the subjects with respect. Obviously, we don't have to work ourselves up into a tizzy about it. We just paint our figures, and we paint them how we want to. And if we want to, add a little bit more reflect, if we want to reflect more the people we know in our lives, that's okay. Actually, I will not be at Historicon. Can't leave vampires out. They'll burst into flame in the sun. This is true. Hey, DD Minis, how's it going over on Twitch? Good to see you. Good to see you, DD. Let's see. Historicon. I have only ever gotten to be at Historicon once. And that was that was like 2 years ago. I have not been able to make it since. What it is Historicon, for me, is right in between Origins and Gen Con. And I don't really want to ask for that much time off. So, between Origins and Gen Con, if I take Historicon, if I do that, that's going to be too much. Too close together, if you know what I mean. But I would love to hit Historicon again, and I would definitely take you up on your offer and say, hey, for sure, maybe get some lunch or something. I don't remember. I know there was some controversy between you and them, but I don't really remember. I don't remember if that was the year I was there or the year or the following year. I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. Everybody's got to have their opinion, right? When you're a content creator, sometimes people are a little bit more what should we say, a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Doggone it, I'm losing my brains here. Are a little more critical of your viewpoint sometimes, because they're out there. They're there for the world to see, right? So we kind of put ourselves out a little bit. So... But I try to stay away from a lot of that controversy. I'll let more brave souls like yourself take care of those. Take care of that kind of controversy. Oh yeah? Nice. Nice. Oh yeah. Glad you're on the they need people like you on their staff. But have a good night, Dave, and put the kiddo to bed. Thanks for stopping in, and we'll chat with you later. So, DD Minis is over on the Twitch. Make sure I find my brain right. it goes wandering. So, DD, if you're still watching over there, last I checked, are you streaming tonight, DD? Or are you streaming tomorrow night? I was a little late getting the stream up tonight. I got home kind of late, and I just needed to kind of decompress a little bit. Tomorrow night. Okay, cool. What you been working on lately, DD? No Gen Con for you this year. Well, that's understandable. Just buying a new house, right? So, or you just got into that new place, so. You'll have to come to Gen Con when you can't stay so long next time, you know? Come in for 2 or 3 days. Really enjoy the show. There's all sorts of really great hobby classes you could take too. Like you could take some of the classes like Impending Duff teaches and the like. There's some really a lot of talent that if you wanted to take classes, man, you could take all sorts of classes. But yeah, Gen Con is an experience. Yeah, I'd like to take classes too, but I'm so busy with the Sail Power and Tech Commander that I just can't get away. My schedule is so heavy. We need more game masters so we can get our hours for our badges. But if we were able to have more personnel, we could feel like you're going to burn out by the end of the weekend, you know, because we do a game in the morning. We have about 2 or 3 hours in between, and then we have another game in the afternoon, and then we have a couple hours to in between there, and then we go from like I think 7 till 11 is our latest. So we have 3 games. We have like so starting off at like 9 in the morning till 11 at night. That's what is that? 14 hours. Out of which 14 hours we have about 10 hours of gaming. So, but I saw Miso's got a whole man. Miso's just keeps on getting all sorts of stock in. It's a good thing I don't live in Louisville. I would. I would blow every paycheck I had, I think. But all I really want is Grimnar, to be honest. Oh yeah, the Space Wolves box. Well, I'm sure the Space Wolves box will probably. Um, I'm sure it's going to be broken up into squads, and I don't know. Are they going to release Grimnar as an independent character in an independent kit, or is he going to be one time only out of that box? I don't really know. I don't keep up on a lot of the GW news. Like my Space Wolves, my actual Space Wolves, I'm just doing up classically. So all my Space Wolves are going to be classic models. But my Nova Wolves, you know. So. They'll release him on his own. That's the update to the old model. Oh, he's way too awesome looking on too. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I've seen those models. You know, I've seen the box set and I've seen sort of just an overview. But oh, let's see. Let's see. This is a chocolate brown, leather brown, flat earth. Flat earth was darker than what I was just using. Or was it? No. Flat earth is a little bit lighter, about a half step lighter. So we'll go with that. Enter the summer open on my Discord. I saw that you have that. I hadn't really looked at what all is entailed there, DD. I'm not sure what it is. Like I'm not sure if I've got anything that's good enough to go in. I've got so many projects that are kind of halfway. I'm actually thinking about entering this at Origins though. When is the cutoff line for the summer for your summer open? I guess I can. I guess I can. I just got so many things like in different stages of process that I don't know. August 31st. Oh, okay. Shoot, I should put something in then. Is this Sir, are you throwing down the gauntlet? I will pick up the gauntlet. I will take that challenge. Sure, sure, DD. I guess I could enter your summer open. I'll look at the rules and see what's what. And see it, make sure I understand what all the specifications are. But yeah, I think I could do that. I mean, somebody's got to bring some class to the joint, right? No, you got some really good painters in your Discord there, DD. It's it's really great, man. I like how you're building your community. Mine's kind of fallen off the wayside, but a lot of it just has to do with I'm so busy with work and life and everything else, you know. There is at the end of June over in Ashland, there is there's a model show. It's not IPMS, but it's like sort of like that. So I was thinking about taking some stuff and maybe entering a couple of pieces there, and mostly just to say I did, you know. Um, Ashland, it's gonna be at the I think one of the hotels downtown, Ashland, Kentucky. So not too far off. And then over Labor Day weekend, uh, they are going to be having a little convention over in Hurricane, West Virginia, and I'll be running a paint and take there. And and we're also going to be doing a little competition as well. So kind of do like what they do at Origins and bring the let do like a paint and take competition where people can enter what they've painted, and instead of just taking it right off home, they can enter it into the competition. And so gonna try that. It may be a disaster. It may be wonderful. I don't know. I know Lynn at Metalhead Minis and Duff, Impending Duff, right there on Twitch, who you should follow if you're not following Impending Duff. You should. Um, they're going to be running the hobby stuff there at Origins, so I'm going to talk to them and see if I can get some tricks and tips for running a paint and take painting competition. You know. So, and then yeah, so that's going to be interesting. Kind of busy, and then CharCon in Charleston, West Virginia. is the second weekend of June, which it goes Friday to Sunday. And I'm not doing anything. I'm going to go and then I'm going to enjoy being a participant as opposed to a. I don't want to run anything there. Well, I sort of would like to run maybe some Tech Commander and Sail Power because they haven't been there for a while. But I also kind of would like to go to a convention where I don't have to do anything. You know, I mean, I love sharing my passion and I love sharing the things that I enjoy with other people, but at the same time, I would like to just have one where I don't have to do anything at all, you know? And the word I was trying to think of earlier, which I kept equating with phrenology in my stupid brain, was phenotype. Phenotype. Phenotypes exist. Phenotypes are why geographically we have some people who look one way and people that look another way in other places. Phenotypes. That's it. Duh. There you go, Dave. I found my brain. I found my brain. All right. So, let's see. Here is Pale Sand. This is Vallejo model color Pale Sand, and I'm going to use that for walking. Maybe mix a little khaki into it as well. Ooh, ooh. Khaki? Maybe stone gray. Stone gray is kind of a brownish gray kind of a color. Let's try that. What if we mix both of those together, I wonder? Maybe we'll throw some khaki out. Let's throw some khaki out here. Let's see what this does. Kind of want to break out of the I don't want to get close to the colors of that I'm using in the skulls. I want to make sure that the skulls are very distinct. So yeah. And if the colors mix a little bit on here, that's okay too. Color's a little bit wet. If they wind up mixing up, that's fine. So nothing wrong with that. And after that dries, because it's going a little brownish red there. Maybe you'll just add a little, just throw a quick dusting of ivory over that or something. So, but there's that gate. So I want it to look like they're trampling around on that ground to move dwarf prisoners in and out. And see, there's some spots that I missed here too, right? So, looks like there's like a robe that goes over this leg here. So that's something to work on. So let's do this. I'm going to get out my trusty old number 2 from Hobby Lobby, my trusty old number 2. And I'm going to knock down these stones here just a little bit. They're a little on the bright side. And then we'll pick up just a touch of the white. I was going a little too hard edge on there. So that looks better. Looks better. I think. And then we'll knock that down to that medium gray right there. Maybe put some of that charcoal gray back in to it. Just a little. And we'll stipple that right down there, just down low. Dibble that down low down there. Pick up a little white, a little medium gray, a bit white, just a little more. Cool, cool. All right, that's pretty cool. Looks good. I'm gonna let that dry for just a minute. So, yeah, that's something I was thinking about today was positivity in the game space, right? Positivity in gaming. Why is it that negativity? You always see these channels. They kind of go for the negative. Games Workshop screws up again, or Wizards of the Coast is a bunch of crazy whatever, or so why? I mean, obviously, controversy sells tickets, right? But how does that affect the average? Because a lot of people watch YouTube. A lot of people do. But how can we have a better effect on our communities with positivity? I think that's something that needs to be talked about more. Instead of looking for the next big scandal, let's figure out how we can just be encouraging, and we don't have to talk about Games Workshop or Wizards of the Coast every other video we make. Maybe there's another way to do it. I don't know. Just thoughts. How can we be more positive without being toxically positive? Because toxic positivity is also a thing. That's where you don't give any good feedback, because everything's good. If everything's good, then there's no room for improvement, right? So we always want there to be improvement. So there's nothing wrong with saying there's something wrong. Now there is a problem with there could be just like some people. There's some people that are just angry all the time and they just want to be angry. But they're looking for a reason to be angry and upset. Watsy kind of did that to themselves. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, all these big companies are going to be. They're going to make the decisions that are right for the big companies, right? And they forget that there's a consumer that buys their product. They have this entitlement idea, but see, that's leaning towards the toxic, right? That's leaning towards Well, that's kind of just saying the way things are. I don't know if it's toxic. It's just saying the way things are. Negativity gets views, especially when the people watching don't share the same opinion. This is true. This is true. But negativity also gets views when people do share the same opinion as well. They just want to. They're confirming their bias, right? So, but I was thinking. So there's lots of different little controversies, right, here and there. Female space marines, no female space marines, whatever, you know. Well, here's the end word on it. Games Workshop is going to do what Games Workshop wants to do, and they don't care about your Twitter opinion. They don't care. They're going to do what makes them the most amount of money. Period. The problem, sort of the place where people can't seem to meet in the middle or let other people have fun and enjoy things, right? Is when they turn it. Sometimes people turn these things into moralistic crusades, and it's about the bottom line. It's not a moral. It's not a moral issue. It's a bottom line issue, right? So if Workshop wants to make things that you don't like, guess what? You don't have to buy the things that Workshop makes. You know, simple as. So, but that's the thing is these companies are going to make what they feel is going to make the money for them. And they don't care about your opinion. And by the time you find out about it, it's already in production anyway. So you're not going to change their mind, even if you have been a customer of theirs for 30 years. Period. So a lot of times I think people have forgotten how to be circumspect about things. So they want to be right because somehow being right makes them a good person or makes them better than somebody else. And that's really not where we need to take the hobby. That's not really we go to the game store, we leave all of our issues behind, roll some dice, have some laughs, find common ground even with people we don't agree with. We may not agree with somebody. Well, they may live a completely different lifestyle, have a completely different faith, completely different orientation. But for those 2 or 3 hours you're playing the game, you know, you're saying, hey, you're a good neighbor. You're somebody that has worth. I mean, you should always be a good neighbor. Really. Honestly, you should always be a good neighbor. Find ways to be a good neighbor. Be thoughtful of people. Sounds a little Mr. Rogers, I guess, but you know what? The world could use a little bit of that right now. So, yeah, DD, exactly. The best thing I ever heard, and the best advice is to vote with your wallet. Yeah, yeah. And there's nothing that says you have to keep just because you don't have to keep buying the same company's products. There's enough variety in the hobby gaming space, that you can play a wide variety of things. You can find something that you might even like better. You know, but getting upset and beating people, strangers on, beating up strangers on the internet with your wit and logic. It's not the way to go on that stuff, you know? It just isn't. It doesn't accomplish anything. It just makes everybody upset at each other. And you've just made somebody have a bad day. Or you haven't contributed to their peace. You know? You don't know what they might be going through in their life too. They could have just lost their job. Maybe they've got a parent that's they've got to take care of that is terminally ill, you know. Maybe they got bad news. Maybe their spouse left them. Maybe their dog died. You don't know. You don't know what people are going through. You don't have if you see a bad take on the internet, you don't have to always respond to it either. You know. But I digress. That's bad toxicity. But but there's also positive toxicity where you just don't say that anything's bad. You don't give any feedback. You don't give any kind of criticism, and that is more deleterious for people that are trying to make better products, because if you just say, "Hey, I love everything you do. It's great. It's wonderful," and you know, maybe for you it is, but maybe if you say, "Hey, you know what? There's this thing on page 46. The way this rule and that rule over here on page 32 uh, interact. I'm having problems with it. It doesn't seem to work really well." You know, game designers need to hear that stuff. You know, people, if they don't hear it, if you never give them feedback, then they can never improve. They can never make a better product. And here's the thing. Of late, it seems like criticism is equated to hatred. And that's certainly not the case. We criticize when you grow up, when you're growing up, your parents criticize you. Teachers and coaches, they criticize you because they know what you are capable of. They know you have it in you to be better, to do better, right? So, why not take some of their advice and improve? We don't see ourselves the way other people see us, which that'd be pretty amazing if we could. We might learn things about ourselves that we never knew. Maybe we have, the talent of saying exactly the wrong thing at the wrong time. When we mean to say something, we think we're going to say something meaningful and important, but sometimes we don't. But yeah, and we're always going to make a slip of the tongue. We're going to somebody somewhere is going to disagree with us somehow. We don't have to let it escalate, because if you're arguing on Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever is your social media platform of choice, it doesn't matter. It's not going to matter tomorrow. It's not going to stop the sun from coming up. You know, it's not going to change workshop. It's not going to change WotC, and it's not going to change the other person's ideas. Sometimes you can find a middle ground. You say, well, this is the way I feel, and this is why I feel that. And sometimes you say, well, these are the facts that I've found. This is what I feel, and this is why I came to this conclusion. Well, that's one thing, but berating somebody and telling them that they're wrong because you disagree or you found something to the contrary, you know. But I digress. Stay away from the negative, be the positive, be the change you want to see, right? If you can. Help somebody have a better day, you know. Oh, let's see. Get out some yellowed bone here. What we got here? Faded khaki. That's a good base. What we got here? We have got some two thin coats. Ivory tusk. Let's see. We've got some. Where is that? Yellowed bone. We got some yellowed bone here. That's good. And what could we use as a base for the yellow bone? Fur brown, maybe? Sulfide ochre? Desert yellow? I don't know. Desert yellow is already on there. Werewolf fur? I don't know. Ivory tusk, yellowed bone. We got some ivory here as well. So that's good. And we got some white. We can use some white. Oh, we got some skull and crossbones white. That's kind of a grayish white. That's pretty cool. But that's kind of a video I've been thinking about making. I just need to sit down and do some deep thinking on it as to how toxic positivity, where you never say anything wrong, you never give any like critical feedback on things. If it's all just wonderful, all just great all the time, how it leads to mediocrity, and nobody's happy, you know. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know if it's a bad thing. I don't know if it's too controversial. I don't know. Just because we have to in the creative space, we have to have that. We have to have critique sessions, right? And if I ask somebody for a critique and they say, "Well, it's all great. It's all great. It's just wonderful. It's perfect. It's terrific." Well, I think you're just kind of trying to get something out of me at that point, you know? So it's better to give some level of feedback than to just say everything is wonderful and I love everything you do and it's all perfect, because it's not all perfect, you know? And if it is all perfect, then you'll never need to improve on anything. And you'll just you'll literally stagnate if you don't have feedback. You know, learning the electrical trade, I was always getting feedback from my dad and granddad. You can do this better. This is a better way to do it. That looks like junk. Take it down. Do it again, because you got to learn the lessons to do it right. Right. So this is beige brown. I'm going to hit all these skulls with beige brown, I think. So that's a nice in between brown. Maybe this stone color would be good. Let's mix a little bit of that together just to see what happens. But yeah, I got videos to make. I got videos about paint and takes, and I got videos about Adepticon to make, and I've got all sorts of things to do. And where do I start? Where do I find the time? Maybe I need that brown. I think I will use that brown. Trying to do that stone is too high of a color, too bright. We'll get that. We'll get some of this brown in here. Hey, Heretic Scott, how you doing? Good to see you tonight, my friend. So, Heretic Scott, I have to ask you, have you hugged an owlbear today? Because owlbears need a hug every day. It's what they live on. How goes the minis and the paints? Hustling away as usual. That's good. Well, it keeps you off the street, right? And out of trouble. The painting in the minis is going pretty well. As you can see, I started working on the base. I think you were there for that. And then I added some of the skulls from the Citadel Skull Collection. So I'm just kind of base coating the skulls. There's a couple of orc skulls on there. I figured these goblins might be some real bad mamma jammas, right? Some real tough customers. So maybe throwing a couple of orc skulls in there shows they mean business, you know. So I'm just getting some undercoat on those. Still safely wrapped up until I get my display case sorted out. Great. Great. That's good for him. Well, yeah, display cases are nice. I'll tell you, I've got my display cases and about to put together some more. And I've got some, there's some display miniatures that are displayed that aren't what you would call display quality, but they're ones that are like some of my early miniatures that I did back when I was just starting out and I was painting with testers, enamel, and just didn't know what I was doing. And I still don't know what I'm doing. Oh yeah. Yeah, well, I'm glad the base worked out. It was it was a fairly simple base. So I kind of the idea, I try to put some interest on the base other than just doing sand and there you go, sand and Bob's your uncle, right? I like to always try to add 3 elements on my bases. Or when I do an element, I like to do it in threes. It just gives a little more interest to looking at it, and I believe I did some lichen on that one, so it looks like he's crashing out from the underbrush. So that was kind of the point to that one, I think. I hope it sold the effect. I thought it did. I mean, for kind of doing it quickly, I think it sold the effect pretty well. And if someone like you thinks it's good, then I am flattered because I have seen your work and it is terrific. Immaculate, sir, immaculate. You put a lot of care and effort into your conversions. Who was it? Oh, Heretic Scott. So, if you like doing conversions, all right, here's a plug again. Here's a plug. So you got the Dave Taylor books that I suggested last time. Here's one. I mean, and they're not bad prices. You know, I mean, I don't know that I'm gonna buy all of them all at once, but I'll buy one or two here and there. You know. Um, but but he worked with a fella on a book on a art of book, and the name of the guy is Bjarni Dolly. BJARNI Bjarni Dolly. And I don't know if you follow Bjarni on Instagram or not, but Bjarni Dolly is he's just a converter master. I mean, scratch building bits and pieces. Um, more mini painting books, say no more. Right. But no, Bjarni Dolly, check that book out. That's one of the Dave Taylor Art of books. And now I may be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that Bjarni has a book out there with Dave's company. But yeah, check it out, Bjarni Dolly. And then of course Vince Venturella's book is coming out. I mean, he's finishing that up now, and so it'll probably be available later on in the year. Um, he's got Roman Lapat. I don't know if you know who Roman Lapat is, but Roman's got a book out in the from the Dave Taylor imprint there. Now, unfortunately, I haven't bought any of these, some of these so far. I meant to at Adepticon, but I forgot to stop by the stand where they were selling them, which I think they were selling them at the Michigan Toy Soldier stand, I think. But I didn't get over there. I wanted to get a couple of bottles of like Dirty Down, and I wanted to get some of the Dirty Down products. And I stopped by the Dirty Down booth, and they had been sold out. So the other vendor that was there that had some of the Dirty Down products was the Michigan Toy Soldier, and I forgot to. I got so busy with everything, I forgot to hit the Michigan Toy Soldier booth. Oh well. There's always online, right? It's a lot easier too, I think, to order some of those books like that online, because at a convention sometimes you're yeah, you just looked him up, didn't you? Yeah, Bjarni's pretty got some pretty amazing. He's got chops, man. He's got chops. Yep. Probably give you some ideas too, huh? Yeah, Bjarni is just got some really amazing stuff. Let me see. I'm going to get out the old dry brushes here. And I think I'm going to retreat to Yellowed Bone by Reaper. Reaper Yellowed Bone. Because if I start just trying to just dab away at these, however, they're not going to turn out very good. So, get the old Yellowed Bone out here. I'm gonna have to have a talk with Dave if I keep talking about his books on stream. I'm gonna have to get some consideration. Speaking of consideration, I am sponsored by Dubby, and if you are watching this channel on YouTube, Twitch, or Rumble, and would like to help the channel, you can go to dubby.gg and use my code ROCKETFUEL, ROKKITFUEL, for 10% off of your order. And a little bit of that gets back to me and will help me hopefully upgrade some things. DD is heading out for the night. All right, I will have a good one. Thanks, DD. You have a good one too, man. Appreciate you. Good to see you in chat. Thanks for stopping in. Have a good evening. Scritch your kitties for me. Oh, there we go. It's already coming out. Look at that. So, but yep, that is a thing. Yeah, old Bjarni Dolly has just got the chops. And I think he does a lot of green stuff work as well, Heretic. I think you can get... Well, you're not in the UK anymore. I was going to say, I think you can get Dave's books at Element Games. And I think they are even sold at the Warlord HQ store, if I think correctly. Hey, if you want a real treat, go and check out Build, Paint, Play, last week's episode where Dave Taylor told us about his trip to England week before last. 2 weeks in sunny old England. I'm not sure who would be carrying it in mainland Europe, though. I'm not sure. I don't really know too many mainland Europe stores. That means I don't know any. Get stuff shipped from relatively easily if it can ship to the UK. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's available in the UK. Dave's books are definitely available in the UK. Check Element Games. I'm pretty sure they carry it, and if they don't, I know Warlord I think Warlord carries them. So now, whether you could get them off of the Warlord website, I don't know. But if Element Games can get them, because I know Element's pretty huge over there. I'm just kind of having a brain fart. I'm not sure. There's also a really cool book. It's actually a 2 volume jam uh, called Miniature Men, about kind of the history of Citadel miniatures and workshop. And there's probably some people that are not interested in the history of workshop particularly, but here's the thing that's important is workshop being such a big mover and shaker in the hobby industry and the impact that it's had. Um, the thing I think is interesting is how many people have come out of workshop and learned lessons by working at workshop, that they took those lessons and started their own thing. That to me that's the value that workshop has had over the years, is the people that have come through its doors and cycled through and rotated out. You know, they had a huge brain drain back in the early mid 2000s, around 2008, 9, 10, between 2008 and 2012. 2000, well, really 2005 or 6. So, say what you want about workshop as a big corporate entity, but some people, they just hate big corporate entities because they're big corporate entities. They don't know why they hate them. They just know that they're supposed to hate them, right? Well, if you don't know why you hate something, then maybe you should find out why you hate it before you hate it. So, because at the end of the day, they are there to make money. They're not there to make you feel good. They're there to make you feel good about giving them your money. they always they always seem to get people's money. Even people that say they'll never get my money again, they always somehow get people's money. So this is interesting. So I just put out Ivory Tusk, and Ivory Tusks looks like a color that I just made. Go figure. When you mix your paints, sometimes you run across the color that you need or wanted anyway. But didn't know you had it. And then you use excuse me. Then you use a purpose-built color from one of these lines and you see, well, I already have this on the palette. How did it get there? Well, you already mixed it. And the thing about having purpose-made colors that's nice is not mixing them. You can just kind of grab them and go and get your work underway. But on a piece like this, because it's a one-off, I'm not trying to paint 3 of them at one time. So, actually, this is a much lighter color. That is a much lighter color of bone. So we're going to hit the tops of these skulls, and we're going to do the same thing, just like painting a face. We're going to do the T area, do the brows, top of the nose, hit the tops of the cheeks, right there. Hit the top of the chin, and we're going to just enhance the textures on the face, just like painting a face. We're going to use the same exact motions as though we were painting a face. So now this lighter color here that I'm using on top of the Reaper yellowed bone is what was that color? It was Ivory Tusk. It's Ivory Tusk by Two Thin Coats. So I didn't really go all in on Two Thin Coats. Nothing against Duncan by any means. But I found that I didn't really need another paint line. I think I have 7 or 8 paints represented in my collection of paints. So yeah, it's definitely a different color for sure. And then I can hit that with a little bit of white as well, and really bring that bleached look up some. So that's kind of a that's kind of a nice transition there from the yellowed bone. So that medium brown, beige brown to yellow bone to Duncan's Ivory Tusk, and then a little bit of white just to give that bleached look a little bit more of a bleachy, a little bit higher level. Yeah. But the thought occurred to me as I was talking to DD Minis a little bit ago. Now, DD Minis on his Discord, you have until August 31st to submit a piece that you would like to enter into his competition. He's having a competition on his website. Or not website, sorry. Duh. On his, what you call it? On his Discord. So, I'm not sure what the prize is, if it's just bragging rights or what, but definitely go check out DD Mini's Discord over there. Of course, I have a Discord as well where you can submit your work for oohs and ahs, and if you'd like to have a honest and straightforward critique of your work, you can put it in the pit area of the Discord, and we will give you tips on your improvement, what you can do, the good things and the bad things. I believe that when you do a critique, first you address the good things. You say, these are the things I like about this. I like this, I like this, I like this. And then you find the one or two things, and don't give people more than one or two things when you're doing a critique. Just say, okay, so I noticed this one little thing over here that maybe you could improve this like that. And then maybe one other item. So I'm not saying much right now. I'm just very laser focused in here on these little eyes, little jaw bones, little teeth. Now I will say this kit, the skulls, the box of skulls from Workshop, I think its price is pretty well holding steady. In fact, they just came out with a version 2 of it, but the price is holding steady. It's right around $30, maybe a little bit more by now. But it's really one of their best products. And of course, if you're painting a Workshop model, you got to have skulls on it, right? So you could put skulls. Yo, dog, I heard you like skulls, so we decided to put skulls on your skulls, so you can have some skulls to skull while you're sculling. So I might throw a wash on there as well. I don't know. They look pretty good without a wash, I have to say. But again, that's testament to the sculptor, whoever sculpted these. I mean, obviously they were done in CAD because they are all the same. There's no real difference between the skulls, other than they made some that were in damaged, but the most intact skulls are pretty well very samey same. So All right, we're gonna let that dry for a minute or two. I'm gonna take get a little drink here, a little drinky drink. It's just Coca-Cola, folks. It's just Diet Coke. So. So these rocks that are still in the undercoat yellow there, undercoat desert yellow, I think I'm going to paint them in gray. Because I like the idea of like little pops of dark gray kind of right in that brown. Just to kind of break up the brownness of the whole thing. And then of course, since this is for fantasy battle, I have to have lime green static grass, right? I mean, that's the rules. Lime green static grass. I might use a little lime green static grass. But I do have the lime green static grass mat. I actually got that some years ago. After they stopped, of course, they stopped making. Me and Workshop have a funny relationship. Every time I'm about to buy something, I've saved the money, and I say, okay, now I'm going to buy this. They stop production and you can't get it anymore. It's like, really? Really? So, there's always eBay. So I did find it on eBay. I found that static grass mat that they had. I found it on eBay for a decent price. But they're still very hard to find, and if you do find them, they're very expensive. There is one company in like the whole world, and I think out of Poland, that still makes that mat. It's fabric. It's a fabric mat with bright green static grass on it, and I think it comes from Poland. I can't find it anywhere else. I looked on the Noct website because I know Noct is the like the European version of Woodland Scenics. So, but I didn't find that mat there. I just found your basic flock mat, you know, that sort of polyethylene sheet with the flock on it, but it's not static grass, it's flock. And I can get those at Hobbytown here in the States. And I don't like those because you roll them up and they stay rolled up. You can't unfold them very well or unroll them. So, but I really do like the static grass fabric back mat, but you can't find them anywhere unless you're Polish or you're willing to buy from Poland, which I have no problem buying from Poland, but it's that whole. It's going to take like 6 weeks to get here, exchange rates, and now what with tariff shenanigans. And I don't even know if that company still makes the static. It's been a couple of years since I looked for another one because I'd like to have two of them because my table is big. I have a 10-foot by 5-foot table. So I need more mats than the average bear to be able to cover the whole table. And personally, I think the neoprene mats, while they're nice, they're expensive, and they look like something that's been printed on. They look like something that's been printed on fabric, right? It just doesn't get me. However, there are cigar box mats, and there's another company that's doing the same thing, production wise. They actually print it on. They use sintered printing. They center the image in, whatever that means, but it's on like a fleece blanket almost. So like if you needed a blanket, you could use your battle mat as a blanket. You could put it on your bed. It's like the same size as a full size blanket for your bed. So. Cigar box is another way to go, and I do have a couple of their mats. I've got a cigar box mat for sail power, and it's pretty nice. I've got it in storage. I just haven't ever gotten out to use it and play it because I've only been able to get sail power games in at the conventions that I go to that I game master sail power at. So yeah, there's only so many hours in a day and so many days in a week, you know. I can't do everything that I want to do, and that is a crime. I would like to be able to I would like to renounce sleep. I would like to renounce sleep and never ever sleep again. I guess I'm not going to be able to do that, though. That's just not... I don't think that's healthy. But I could do so much more if I didn't have to sleep. Just think about it. If you didn't have to sleep, what could you accomplish with your life? That's 6 to 8 hours out of the day that you are doing nothing. You're literally doing nothing. Think about all the things you have to do that you do in a day that you can't do because you're asleep. I mean, sleep is the biggest time waster ever. But I guess it's necessary. I guess that it's necessary. Stone, Dungeon Gray, white. Okay, good. So let's go around and pick off these stones here. The wrong one. Let's see. I shouldn't have mixed that. I'll let it separate again before I use it ever again. Let's see. What other color was I using? What was that? Charcoal? Carbon gray? Yeah. Yeah, carbon gray from Vallejo Game Color, and then Dungeon Gray from War Paints here. So. Oh, here's some Castle Gray. Got Castle Gray and I got Dungeon Gray. There we go. Maybe there we don't go. All right. So we're just going to paint these little rocks that are sticking up just to give some nice variation in the what there is there. And again, doing the old Kev Dallimore style, we'll set down a dark tone, a base coat, and do mid-tone and highlights. Maybe a wash. Although I have noticed that Kev does a lot more like wet blending and such of late. I've seen a lot of his more recent stuff, and he's leaning into wet blending a bit. So that's good. I like wet blending when there's large pieces of real estate on a figure, like dragon wings or something like that. But I can't use it for every little thing. Like if you look at Sam Lenz's stuff, Sam Lenz, like he is the dry brushing king, man. I think he dry brushes chain. I think he dry brushes. I think he wet blends chainmail, like individual links. 25 millimeter scale or 28 millimeter scale, whatever we do here, whatever size these miniatures are. You know what I mean. Listen to what I mean, not what I say, right? Well, you're supposed to know what I meant. Well, that's not what you said, but you know what I meant. Well, it's not what you said. Say what you do. Listen to what I mean, not what I say. So I think that gray pulls some of the gray out of the effigy there, and kind of gives a little more balance. So we see this sea of skulls here, and then we're going to see this gray come down here, kind of work its way out a little bit. Again, working in elements of threes, right? So three skulls, rocks here, rocks here, rocks here. So three places. Now this is a bigger base, so the what I call the rule of three when I'm basing is going to be a little more stretched out, a little more distributed, because there's not a lot of line of sight between one side of the base and the other. So for a regular sized figure, let's say this guy here, I don't know that I would consider him a regular sized figure. Um, But there's a lot of line of sight from one side of the base to the other. So there's a lot more you can do with it, and you can load it up, but you don't want to overload it. You don't want to make it look like he's tripping over stuff. So the rule of three, like I would probably put one little thing here, one little thing here, maybe something over here. And I would try not to do it too evenly either. But I want there to be some interest on that base when I'm done with it. I don't want it to just be flat. Now, his brothers and the rest of the squad, because he's the sergeant, I will probably dress him up a little bit more. But the rest of the squad, I might not do quite as much with. There might be a couple of guys that don't have too much on their base, other than just maybe sand and paint. But as far as the as far as the sergeant goes, you know. But as I was saying, we're talking about line of sight across the base, so we don't want to make it look too empty, so to speak, right? At least I don't. Maybe you do. Maybe empty bases are your thing, but I don't want to leave the base looking too empty. But I also don't want to overload it. Now this, because there's not a lot of line of sight from one side of the base to the other, we need to think in little sections. Have a section here and have a section here, and so we want to pull those elements out. We want to make it a little more cohesive, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Now maybe I'm making it sound all too grandiose and way too overwrought. But it's more like I'm not really trying to make it sound more than it is. It's just more of a, this is how I do things, and this is kind of like the reason why I do things this way. And maybe somebody out there will watch it and listen to it, maybe apply it themselves and say, hey, I really like that, and that works for me too. And I'm glad to have helped you. If it does, that's great. But if it's not your way to do it, if it doesn't work for you, that's fine too. I hope you watched. Thanks for watching if you're watching, and if what I'm doing doesn't work for you, thanks for watching anyway. Appreciate you being here. And if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button for me, would you? Leave a like. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that. Share it. If you're on Twitch, you can also follow on Twitch, because following is the same as subscribing. So following on Twitch is subscribing on the other platforms, right? So feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Follow, and if you really want to blow my mind, consider becoming a Twitch subscriber so that you are in the monthly monster club. Twitch subscribers get the monthly monster perk, where I paint a monthly monster each month, hence the name, and send it out. But the only unfortunate part of that is only really open to continental U.S. and Canadian viewers, and offer void in Quebec and where prohibited. because Quebec is weird. I don't think the Quebecois like to have fun. So, sorry, Quebec. You're not allowed to have nicely painted. You're not. Sorry, Quebec. You're not allowed to have nice things. So I put a little verdigris around this crease right there. I tried to make it look like the paint had been scraped off in battle. You know, a little battle damage there, dark and light. So do a dark. So when you're doing painted on battle damage, the trick is to do a dark line and then right next to it do a light line. That way it looks like there's some three-dimensional, we'll call it just dimensionality to it, right? So, and there's a few places I've noticed as I look over this with a fine-tooth comb, there's things I've missed. So we'll go back and catch those as we do, as we go. Get a little white, a little actual white here. Oh goodness, so tired. Today was an odd day. I had only counted on spending about 4 hours on this one project, and it just kind of grew on itself, you know. I thought it was going to be an easy fix. That was my first issue. So, but the lady was easy to work for. She wasn't too upset. The thing that I really hated I really hate when I have to run into town to get parts. You know, that's irritating. But what you gonna do? But I went through the whole section of her house, and I opened up every receptacle, and I tried to make sure that all the connections were good, because she was having some really weird things going on with her lights. They were kept flickering, and turned out it's you never really expect it to be in the breaker box when you looked at the breaker box, and it looks good. You know, it looks pretty good. And then you go and you look at it again after you've done all this other work, and you find out that there's corrosion on the vanes where the breaker lands in the breaker box. There was a lot of corrosion because it was outside. Well, it had corroded because the cover, like the main cover of the breaker box, had the latch that kept it closed had been broken off somehow. So it had been open, and because it was way in the back of the house, way back outside, it was actually outside because it's an old trailer. So it had an outside meter base disconnect panel. Yes, well, Alex VX13, you are a bot, and you shall be dealt with accordingly. Going to report as a bot. And block the bot. Bot block. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Bot block. As my paint dries on my brush dealing with bots. But I guess that means my channel is doing something if I'm getting if I'm getting bots trying to sell me viewers from some far off country. Must be doing something right. So. And let's go ahead and hit that with a little lighter mix. Just hit those highlights. So I'm just kind of following the light as I see it to pick up these highlights. And then I'll probably just hot spot it with a little bit of white. So. But if this turns out well enough, I might take the guts. I might work up the guts to actually enter this at the Origins painting competition, or maybe even the Gen Con painting competition. If I don't have this done in time for Origins next week. So. We'll see. I do not know. Do not know. Not big on painting competitions, but I do like the competitions where it's not a participation prize by any means, because participation prizes, remember I was talking about toxic positivity? Well, participation prizes are toxic positivity. They don't they're encouraging, but they don't encourage you to. They kind of hold you back from improving, because if everything you do is wonderful and everything you do is great, then why bother improving, right? So, but they have a sort of like what you might call a state fair style of judging, where it's it's according to the merits of the piece that you enter, right? And so you could get a gold medal or a blue ribbon or whatever if your work is up to snuff, right? If it looks good, if it displays a maturity in the hobby, some good qualities there. Um, so, and as I understand it, Golden Demon has kind of gone that route as well, because now they have finalist pins and they have like a consideration pin. So it's basically yeah, your stuff was good. It was good enough for us to notice. It didn't make the final cut, but it was good enough to get a commendation. So it's commended, it's commended entry, it's finalist entry, and then of course there's the ones that went out of the finalists. So they're kind of taking it away, because that was one thing about Games Workshop's Golden Demon painting competition, was that it was always more of I always felt more adversarial, if you know what I mean. Um, so that's pretty well done. Aside from there's a few bits and bobs maybe that I missed, but for the most part, aside from the grass uh, and turf, I think that's pretty well close to being done. I won't put any pictures out until I am done. It is a work in progress. I could put it out. It's so late. I don't want to really do with. I don't want to deal with taking pictures of it right now. Not tonight. Maybe tomorrow after work if I'm not too wiped out. So here's a little goblin. A little goblin. Just a little goblin guy. Just a little goblin. And he is taking a nap with a dwarven cannonball landing on his head. I think you're supposed to put your head on top of the dwarven cannonball if you're going to use it as a pillow. I think he's got it a little backwards, but then again, he is a goblin, so I don't know. I don't know the ways of goblins well enough to know if that's the prescribed way in which goblins should take naps. But anyhow, let's grab some goblin green, or green skin, I should say, from Army Painter, the old stuff. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. You know what? I like that color, but I've actually been using Goblin Green from these little pony bottles by WizKids. I got some of them fairly cheap, so I wanted to give them a try. So they're Vallejo, but they're made for the D&D brand by WizKids. So prismatic paint, leaning into some of the game lore there. But Goblin Green, I actually used that Goblin Green on these Spider Riders. Spido Ridos. Kind of little Homestar Runner there. Feels like it. Homestar Runner. So we're going to use a little bit of this goblin green here. It's a little bit of a darker goblin green, which is a nice base for goblins, because you can always, like I said, you can always go up in tone. It's harder to go down in tone if you started at a bright green and went down. It's easier to start with a dark green and go up. So, trying to figure out. You know what? You know what, folks? Let's do this. Remember how I was talking about different colored primers at the beginning of the stream tonight with our friend Dave Nighthawk Simpson over there at Gamers on Games YouTube channel. Check him out sometime if you like. Anyway, we were talking about the virtues of different colors being used for primer. Well, this is one of the problems with black. Yeah, I already hit him with the band hammer there, Heretic Scott. I got him already. So this is one of the issues that I have with black primer, is sometimes it's hard to tell what things are because it's so dark. But because this is black primer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lean into some of the zenithal style highlighting. Now I'm not going for the slap chop, as the kids call it today, or the grisaille, as they would call it in the 19th century. But I am going to hit that with some white, a little dry brush white. Being careful not to hit the terrain that I've already painted, in order to draw out some of the details and figure out what needs to be green. How do I tell that that's a goblin? He's kind of smushed up, right? Looks like there's an elbow there and maybe part of an arm over there. Kind of hard to tell what is actually supposed to be what. It's still there. Yeah, it's still there for me too. I blocked it, but it just stays in the queue until the end of the stream. I mean, it's just, I've blocked things before and they haven't gone away. So we'll just go with that. Maybe I loaded up too much white on that, but we'll see what happens. Though it does remind me of, I did paint up a night goblin sometime back, and I painted him up in my regular goblin army colors. So do I want to do night goblins in their traditional black robes? I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I do not know. I don't really have plans. I'm just kind of going along with what I'm doing. Do I do it studio wise, or do I do something else and make it interesting? Do I match them to the regular goblins. Because I've got regular goblins, but these are the night goblins. So I assume that's a little hand right there. I assume that's a little arm right there. What is this? Is this an arm? Is that a shoulder or an elbow right there? Oh, there's a hand. I see the hand now. And that's something that hand I couldn't tell what it was when it was just primed in black. So now that I see what it is, that's much better now. So I see that whole hand right there. But we were talking about the pros and cons of different colors of primer. Now I've got some things here primed in black, but as anybody that's been following me for any amount of time, for a longer amount of time, will know I am a big fan of using brown as a primer. I think brown is really a much more fair primer. It's easier for the eye to pick out, and it doesn't really, at least for me, it doesn't feel like it gets quite so muddy. Black tends to blend things in a little bit much. Now, are those shoes or does he have bare feet? This looks like maybe a shoe here. This, I definitely see piggies down here. This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed home. This little piggy had roast beef. He only has 3 little piggies. That I can make out anyway. But that is one of the, that's kind of the weakness of black as a primer, I found, is that sometimes it just blends things together and you can't really see what's going on. White's fine, but the problem with white, the good thing about white is if you use white as a primer, it makes your bright colors brighter. But as the downside, sometimes it makes them also streakier looking. Also, if you miss a spot, it really shows. Whereas black, it looks like a shadow. You're going to be okay. So, and there's no right one. The best primer is the one that works for you, you know. That's the right primer to use. So if you find better use with black primer, good for you. If you like using white, you could also go middle of the road between white and black and use gray. However, gray is good because it does help with vibrancy for your colors. If you're using brighter colors, it's not such a so much of a challenge to get those brighter colors to look good. However, the problem can come from you're spray painting gray primer on gray plastic, and so you can sometimes lose track of what's actually primed and what's not. So that's kind of a down a down. What's the word? I don't want to say a downvote. That's not right. That's too harsh. The downside. Duh. Derp, derp, derp. Brain doesn't work. Brain doesn't work, man. It's kind of a downside to the gray. Gray as a primer, though, is you can lose track of what's primed and what isn't. So 10:37. About 20 minutes left to go in the stream. So what I'll probably do here is I might take some green stuff. See, there's some striations here where it looks like the ground has been like scraped. So what I might do is I might take some green stuff and draw that out a little bit more out to the edge. So I kind of made this a little bit of a crater. It's hard to see, but I did build this up around. So what I might do is I might take some green stuff and bring this out a little bit. So that's pretty good, I guess. Let's take some of this khaki and we'll go across this rope, holding his pants up, keeping his robe closed. Yeah. I think what I'm going to try, so I've got an idea. I have an idea. So we'll use this dark blue and this coal black. Now, you can highlight black with gray. If you use a dark gray, it's really great. But going to a lighter gray to a white sometimes makes the black look chalky. Consider using blue to do your highlights on black. Trust me on this. If you don't trust me, go ahead and try it. If it works for you, terrific. If it's not what you're looking for, that's fine too. But if you haven't tried using blue as your highlight for blacks, give it a consideration. Try it. At least try it on one figure. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But I'm going to use dark blue. I'm going to use coal black. So Pro Acrylic Coal Black already has a little bit of blue in it already. And then Pro Acryl dark blue I'm going to use to do my first level of highlights with. So, and I might even do it while it's still wet. I might try to see if we can do a little bit of wet blending. It's a little tiny spot to do some wet blending, but nothing ventured, right? So, pick up a little bit of that black. Hopefully we don't wind up picking up any of the brown, but now I'm going a little on the thin side with it. It's kind of glazing out a little bit more than I really intended on it. But that's okay too. That is okay too. So that's obviously a boot. So I'll paint that later. So that is a foot. He's got a foot without a boot on it, and he's got a booted foot there. So I'm trying to get my schedule back in order on the old Twitch here. Work sometimes takes me away from it, or I get too tired, work late. Like tonight, I did start a little bit late, an hour late actually. But guess what? You can't fire me from Twitch. You can't fire me from Twitch. It's my channel, I do what I want. It's my channel, and I'll stream when I want to. But I can't sing much because of the YouTube. Our YouTube doesn't know how to parse being funny with a copyright infringement. YouTube. Curses you, YouTube. Alright, so that's pretty good. I'm not going to get too worked up about the black not being super rich on here. Being able to see through it just a little bit. That's pretty good. We kind of really want that to be the case anyway. Because we're going to use this blue to hit our highlights. And it's a dark blue. So it's not going to show up real great, but we can actually go from a dark blue to a medium blue. And it'll do exactly what we want to do. Again, 2 levels of highlights up because we don't really have a mid-tone from the black, right? Other than this dark blue, but it's not really going to be a mid-tone. It's going to be a highlight tone. And I am going ahead and just using, I didn't even wash my brush off to pick it up, just keeping it wet. And we'll just use blue to pick up those highlights there. Supposedly blue is the right way. Supposedly. But then again, the right way is really the way that works for you, folks. Don't get too excited when somebody says, well, this is the right way to do this. You know, if you're getting paint on the figure, and there are some ways to do things that can be more helpful to you, but if someone says you can only do things this way, tell them to scratch gravel, because you're going to find a way that works for you, and you're going to find a way that makes you happy. When we paint, we want to be in a happy place when we're done. We want to have a good feeling. We want happiness. We want joy. That's why we do hobbies. They give us that sense of accomplishment. Oh, look, there's a little goblin face. Okay, I didn't know that was there. Interesting. Looks like he's got a little rip in his cloak here too, so that might be something I can address later on. Yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool, pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and get a brighter blue, a lighter blue. We'll just go with Procryl Natural Blue here. And I might even mix in a little bit back into the dark blue. Give it a shake on the old machine here. Oh yeah. Okay, so we'll mix that in real nice like. We'll see what that does. We'll bring that up. I don't want to go too bright with the blue. I think too bright is, well, too bright. So let's mix that in. Maybe bring it a little bit back here. Yeah. So what I did is I got that highlight there, and as we go up with each progressive highlight, we want to do just a little bit less, right? So we'll do a little here, a little there, a little there, a little there, a little there. There. And we might progress that up just another step and do a little bit less. And hit just a smidge more. Maybe just right there. Maybe here. Maybe right there. Right there. Right on that knee. A little bit behind this belt right there. Some on that sleeve. I don't want to follow that whole line right there. I just want to hit part of it. Same thing right here. I just want to hit maybe that apex on that arc right there. And then maybe just a little on the on that hood right there, just like that. And we can even take it up just a little bit more too. Just a little more, maybe one more step. One more step, just a little bit less. And we'll just get a little boop, a little joop, a little ink right there, a little little zip, right? A little zinc, a little ink, a little ink, a little pop right there, a little zip. Yeah, I think that makes the world. Now, if I were really good, I'd wet blend this from blue to black all over there, but I think just straight up highlights on those hard edges are, I think they're going to be just fine. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. All right. We are we're in a good spot here, folks. So it's almost 11 o'clock. So I don't know what else to do. I've got dry paint on my palette. Like, I could probably pick out these little rocks right here. Maybe mix up some green stuff and put it right here. Right in this area. And maybe make a little bit more definition with some green stuff right through here as well. But I think with a green stuff trail going out this way, I think I can get that, because I did build those areas up, as you can see, but it needs something more there. But not tonight. I think we're done for this evening. So, to our friends on YouTube and Rumble, I am going to say we're going to bid you all adieu and good night.